What's going on, my little firecrackers? Blazing Rose here, blazing his way into another video. It's just been so long that, I've forgotten my intro. But here's the thing. The reason I'm recording this is because I have news. Next week, Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to be streaming. Well, I'm going to be testing out a stream. So, basically what's going to happen in that stream is I'm planning on reading Solo Leveling for the first time. I did have a lot of it spoiled for me, which is why I ended up deciding to read it, and I said, well, I want to try out streaming, so I might as well. So I have a lot of it spoiled for me, so you're going to get what you get with that. Yeah, so some things I'll have a big reaction to, some things I just won't because I had it spoiled. So next week, Monday or Tuesday, I believe, I am going to be streaming. Unless, my schedule changes or something like that, in which case I obviously won't. But for the people who haven't griped, like, why aren't you continuing another series? It's because I don't have time to go back and watch all of those series, plus it's just a series that I've wanted to do for a while. So, here we are. What if Deku was Shazam? And we're gonna start the same way every great story starts. Every single one of my what ifs starts. And that's Izuku being born. Now, Izuku is again born quirkless. So, he goes through life. But when he's about 5 years old, what ends up happening is his mom takes him, Inko takes him to a little, fair in town, and they accidentally get separated. And as a result of this, the cops find him and try to contact them looking for his mother. And his mother, Inko, sees them and sees how well the cops are taking care of him. And she starts to believe that maybe they can do a better job of, finding someone better to raise him than she can. Because she's obviously not doing a very good job. Those are complete lies. She's just not doing the best job. But a good job nonetheless, just not the best. Because, it's hard to support someone whose goal requires a quirk. Because Izuku doesn't have one in this world. In case I forgot to say that earlier. So, she thinks that they could do a better job. Now, what ends up happening is he goes from foster home to foster home to foster home, and he continuously is trying to find his mother, though he never succeeds, ever. Doesn't even get close once. And eventually, it's almost high school, and hey, Devin, that you? That was weird. Anyway. So, what ends up happening is... Okay, haven't done this in a while. So what ends up happening is Izuku ends up going to a certain foster care that has Kyoka, and it's done by Kyoka's parents, so Kyoka is their biological daughter. Then it has Tsuyu, and also Ochako, as well as Nijire, who is the oldest. Don't ask questions. Anyway, for those of you who didn't read the title, this is a pseudo harem. Some of you might be wondering what is a pseudo harem, and it's just how I classify extremely small harems, which is either 4 to 5 girls. A multi-ship is 2 or 3 girls. Then pseudo harem is 4 or 5. A harem is 6 to 12, and then a massive harem is 13 plus. That's how I categorize by, the number of women in the ship. So 4 girls, the ones I've mentioned, that is all. There will be no more. And I think you'll see why I chose those 4 fairly quickly when we get to that. Anyway, so what's going to happen is, failing time and time and time again. And again, at the same time, he also still wants to become a hero, is still being bullied, and all that. Only verbally, though, because he's going to a different school, and one that Bakugo doesn't go to, so he's not getting bullied physically, just verbally. Which is not always better. But it's just that he's not going to have any, wounds or scars or anything. But he does, emotional damage is still there. And without his mother there, his actual mother, it's pretty bad. However, one day, he's met all of his new foster family, runs away again to find his mother, fails again, and that completely crossed out his notebook. There's no one else with his last name anywhere in Japan, anywhere in police records. So he doesn't know what to do. What ends up happening is Kyoka starts getting bullied, but instead of it being verbally, it is physically. And what ends up happening is, Izuku kicks the guy that's bullying her right in the crotch and starts booking it. And Izuku's been running his whole life, so he's pretty fast. Or at least faster than someone who, doesn't have a speed quirk. Luckily, these 2 bullies don't have speed quirks, so they're just running after him normally. And what ends up happening is Izuku gets away by ducking into a train right as the doors are closing, and closes right in front of the bullies. They're done. And he's just gotten away. And what ends up happening is he goes into this place, and led to by this voice. The train just stops out of nowhere, and it's just this rocky cliffs and strange and weird. While he's walking through, he notices a small caterpillar trapped in an enclosure. He doesn't know what that's about, but he's just like, probably shouldn't touch that. And he keeps going towards where the voice seems to be coming from. And as he gets there, he sees 7 statues in an orb to his right, while the statues are to his left. And this wizard who looks scrawny and frail, now with this strange red suit on with a lightning bolt on it and the white cape. So I'm sorry if you can hear her, but I don't have any closed spaces, so you're probably going to hear her a lot. So sorry about that, but I can't do anything about it. I'm not an editing whiz and can edit out small sounds. But yeah. So what's going to end up happening is the wizard is going to, put him through a trial. And all of the 7 sins are like taunting him, like get revenge on those who have wronged you, and whatnot. Fight back against the world that has betrayed you. And he's just like, no, fuck you. Of course he doesn't. He doesn't curse because, he's Izuku. But I definitely would. Like, fuck you guys. I'm not stupid. But so yeah, Izuku doesn't even fall for their temptations like for a second. He's just like, no. Which surprises the wizard, as the wizard now realizes he is the one. He isn't one to be swayed by the temptations of the 7 sins. So what ends up happening is he tells Izuku to, grab onto his staff and say his name. So Izuku's like, okay, because the man, he doesn't look in the best of health. He's scrawny and he's frail. So Izuku's just like, if he wants me to, I'll help him out. If this is going to make him feel better, then I will do it. So he's like, what's your name? And he just says Shazam. Says, okay, so Shazam. As lightning strikes him, and the next thing he knows, he wakes up on a train. As he heard all of the things he said, like, what was it? The wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules or Heracles, it's pronounced both ways, I believe. Forget what that A1, the A1 is. Then there's the power of Zeus. And I forget what the other A is. And then the speed of Mercury. All of which are gods, and it's just all of their names just combined together to, Shazam is an acronym, basically. If I remember correctly. So he wakes up and he is, well, like him, he's really buff and, green hair in a short cut. He looks barely even recognizable. And so what ends up happening is he's just like, he's like freaking out, and eventually just gets out of the train, hits his head on the way out. And he makes his way back home, and it's dark. And he sees Kyoka's parents, who are the foster parents in this case, just, like calling the foster care system. And what ends up happening is he talks to like Kyoka. Kyoka sees him in the yard and goes out to confront him, and he's like, it's me, it's Izuku, like, calm down. So she's like, what's going on? Like this. And he's like, I don't know, some wizard just made me say his name, and then all of a sudden, like, I looked like this. I woke up on a train looking like this. I don't know what happened. And so, and at the same time, she's like, well, like, how do you, like, how does this work exactly? Because I'd say that looks like a quirk to me if you weren't, it's like, oh yeah, wow. Izuku says, it's just like, wow, okay. No, go ahead, say it. No, go ahead. It's like, quirkless, you come on, don't make me say it. Like, we both know what you meant. No, but in all seriousness, they'd end up trying to see if he does have any, like, abilities in this new form. As Izuku comes to realize very easily, with displaying super speed, super strength, and a bunch of other things, it's definitely not a quirk, as quirks are only ever one thing, not multiple, unless you have multiple quirks, or a combination of two, and no one has multiple quirks, as far as he's aware. So what ends up happening is, they don't start filming it, obviously, though that'd be stupid, because anyone else would see this as a quirk. So if they did that, they'd be like, public quirk use, arrested. But that's not how this works. So what ends up happening is, this happens about a good month before the sledge incident. So he has a month to learn all of his abilities. He has 11 months before entrance exams to learn all of his abilities. And he, being, the smart person he is, he has this entire month with his abilities, and he's already learning all these different things. He can manipulate electricity. He can take a bullet to his face and feel basically nothing more than a flick. So he's got super endurance, already super strength, can generate and manipulate lightning from his fists. The lightning from him saying Shazam can actually damage other people, so he has to be wary of where he, is transforming. And yeah, that's he actually discovers that he can fly within that month. So he can fly around too by now, because you know, he believes, like, oh, I can do so many things, like, I should be able to fly as well, it would only make sense. I think he would also have this desire to fly, because All Might basically does so, like, whenever he's traveling somewhere, he basically does so with those giant leaps that make it look like he's flying, even though he's not. And he actually ends up flying because of that. Because he believes he can, because he has the desire to. He actually ends up flying. And what ends up happening is we get to the sledge incident. Again, Izuku doesn't use his powers in public. They always go somewhere discreet where no one will, you know, see them doing what they're doing. Ochako and Sue are not in on this yet, and neither is Nijire. It's just him and Kyoka, and they really bond over this experience. Kyoka's really helping Izuku get over this. Like, I have power now, and I can use it to help people. And Izuku eventually will, but he can't yet because, you know, hero's license, and he will respect that, and he's not going to use his abilities unless in self-defense, just as the law states. He cannot use his abilities unless in self-defense. Otherwise, it is a crime. So unless he's attacked first, he can't use his abilities. And we get to the sludge villain incident. And he's just a normal person without transforming, and Izuku's not going to transform for some stupid reason like, oh, you know, I want to get home fast. No, he's not going to do that. What he's going to do instead is he's going to, well, how do I put this? He's just going to go normally. He's going to take the long route even because he knows that, oh, I'm weak in this form, and if somehow someone prevents me from being able to say Shazam, I'm done for. So he's already been training for like a month because he's realized that really early on. It's like, this is like a transformation quirk, and transformation quirks' weaknesses are the fact that, you know, they have to be able to transform. If they don't have the time to do so, then they can't, and they're basically quirkless. That's the one weakness to a transformation quirk. They have to have the time to do it. And while his transformation is fast, as fast as lightning, in fact, but he does need time to do it. He can't do it in open areas because someone else could get injured, that he doesn't want to get injured, or worst case scenario, even killed. So what he ends up doing is he starts training his body. So he's been training, so now that's just why he's taking the long route, you know, part of his training regimen. And what ends up happening is he gets caught by the sledge villain because he's just a normal human. His senses aren't heightened in, you know, his normal child form. And what ends up happening is, you know, gets caught by the sludge villain, and, you know, All Might has to show up to save him because, no, it rather, not that All Might has to show up, it's just All Might shows up to save him before Izuku can transform. So All Might saves him, and Izuku asks him the age-old question before, because Izuku didn't fall asleep in this, so therefore All Might still has a bit of time. He didn't waste that time trying to wake him up. So he asks All Might if he thinks that a quirkless person, because he knows that this power isn't a quirk, can be a hero. All Might says no and leaps away. However, the sledge villain falls out of, because he didn't secure the sledge villain in his pockets, it still falls out. So Izuku's still on his jog back home when large explosions start going off. He goes to the scene to see that, everyone's there. He didn't see All Might's weakened form. And he looks at the villain and he sees that he has someone captured, and he locks eyes with Bakugo. And he immediately can tell that it's Bakugo, or Kachan as he prefers to call him. However, he hasn't seen him, even though he hasn't seen him in 9 years, he still knows it's him. He still knows it's Bakugo. So what ends up happening is Izuku goes and runs in to save him, obviously, is what he does. So, Izuku beats his ass. No, okay. What Izuku does is he looks at the sludge villain, and you can tell the only part of him that is physical are his teeth and his eyes. So he naturally aims for his eyes and throws his bag full force. What ends up happening is it actually pushes the sludge villain back enough for Izuku, with his now slightly more muscular figure, to actually pull Baku out and throw him towards the rest of the heroes. And Izuku's trying to run back, but then he gets grabbed by the sludge villain on one of his arms. Not his whole body, just one of his arms, and he's finding it hard to pull out of it completely. And so what ends up happening is All Might forces himself back into his hero form and does a Detroit smash right into the sky, causing the weather to change like in canon, and saving Izuku, because Izuku thought he could get out of it without transforming. There were other heroes around. He didn't think he'd have to transform, so he wouldn't have transformed. He didn't need to. And so keep in mind, unlike Betty Batson, was it Billy Batson? That's the word. Billy Batson. Thinking of, I mixed Barry Allen and Billy Batson together and formed Barry Batson. I don't know how that happened. Might be because the new season of The Flash came on recently. But what ends up happening is, unlike Billy Batson, he's not a show-off. So, he's not really trying to show off. If he thinks that he can get out of there without transforming, he'd get out of there without transforming. He wouldn't force himself to transform just so that he could get out of a situation in which he wouldn't really need to do so. So, All Might goes to save him. Izuku's about to start fanboying, but, All Might has to get out of there. And what ends up happening is, Kyoka comes up to him after he's been lectured by the other pro heroes there, and just slaps him across the face, calling him an idiot for doing that. And that he should have used his power, since it would have been considered self-defense since he attacked first, which technically, Izuku then said back, technically he didn't attack first, I threw a book at him, so technically I attacked first, so therefore it would have been against the law. So couldn't really do that. So Kyoka just what, I can't deal with this, and she heads straight home. And what ends up happening is Izuku goes back to the wizard, but when he gets there, he notices something's different. The 7 statues and the orb are all missing. Or more accurately, the 7 statues have been completely crumbled down to stone. The stone is crumbled on the floor, it's just a bunch of rubble, and the orb is missing. And the wizard guy that has been teaching him all of his powers and abilities over the last month is gone, and in his place on his throne is just ashes. So Izuku doesn't even know what's going on here because there's no one to tell him what just happened. But he was warned by the wizard before he had passed away that there was someone who might try and steal back. Like, the wizard had a premonition that someone would try to steal the orb and release the 7 sins, and unfortunately, it happened. He also informed him of someone named Black Adam, who has the same powers as he does. But he was sent to a farthest ends of the universe, but he might be back one day. So he has to be prepared for that as well. So he's like, okay, I already have villains that want me dead. Okay, that's cool. I'm not even a hero in training yet, and I already have people that want me dead. That's amazing. So, and Kyoga knows about the old wizard guy. The wizard guy didn't care much that Izuku brought her in with him, almost as if he saw something in her, not the exact same thing that he saw in Izuku, but something similar. He also gave Izuku a message saying that, it was very cryptic too. Basically, the overall message was, there are 7 wizards on the council, and he is only 1 seat. He didn't really know what that meant, but he assumed it had something to do with him letting Kyoka be there. So it was very cryptic because he knows it means something, he just doesn't know what it means. Which has really been getting to him, but he decided to just, like, you know what, just forget that for now. I can't be bothered to waste any more time thinking about that. I have people that want me dead. So what ends up happening, I've been saying that a lot, jeez, I'm gonna stop that now. So Izuku goes on to, start even picking up his training even more, and when he comes out and, starts heading home, he actually runs into All Might. And All Might offers him his power, and what ends up happening is Izuku actually accepts it, because he knows that there's this person who has the exact same powers as him, and that several, 1,000 years ago or whatever, he's had it for several thousand years, so which means he's had a lot more time to train and master this power. He only has maybe less than a year or so to master this power, as much as that person has mastered it in several thousand years. So what he needs, and he knows for a fact he's not going to be able to do that. Even the way he is, he won't be able to master it that well. So what he ends up thinking is, well, I'm going to need enough power to take him down. So when All Might offers him his power, saying he's worthy of his power, he accepts. But he also says to All Might, I may be quirkless, but I'm not powerless.